So here we are on the Robinson helicopter for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I have my AIRLand FS up and running so I can take off. A couple things about this helicopter before we get going. You see that it has a long rotor mast there. I was doing some reading up on this helicopter, and that actually makes this helicopter a little bit more difficult to fly. It is kind of a touchy aircraft. Now, I haven't had much success flying it so far. You know, it depends on how you have it set up. Right now I have it set up semi-realistically. If I try it too realistically, I'm just not advanced enough to be able to take off with it and land it like that. We don't get our landing lights on. One thing I want to point out here about this helicopter is you have your manifold pressure. Now, it says right here it's I guess in inches of percent. So when you hit about 25 inches of percent, the helicopter stalls. It's just too much for the engine that it has, for the Lycoming engine, and it just says that you overstress the aircraft. So you really can't push it beyond 25. You can give it a little bit of spurts to get bursts of power, maybe to get some altitude, but you really can't push it, anywhere beyond, I'd say, 22, which means that it's going to take you a while to get to where you need to get to. This is actually version 3.1, so there's a couple of cool little features here, like I can click the compass and it takes the GPS away, or if I want the GPS, there it is again, I can click on the side and get rid of the hood. It also comes with, this version's come with floats, so I can click the floats button and the floats appear on the sides, so I can actually land in the water. That can be helpful, but we're just going to leave the floats off, and you have your other controls here on the yoke or on the stick, where it gives you the option to get rid of the doors, so you can have an open helicopter where you can see a little better. I guess you have a better line of sight, but we're just going to keep them on here because the truth is that I think you have a pretty good field of vision in this helicopter. You just don't have really anything at your feet to point straight down, which would be nice, but it's not there. So anyhow, so we engage the clutch, and we disengage the rotor brake, and our AIRLand FS is up and running. I turn the landing light off because, to be honest with you, well, you'll kind of see that when you're flying this helicopter, first of all, you have to be very careful, because it gets real touchy, and it kind of wants to do what it wants to do. And I guess from what I'm starting to understand, is this is what helicopters kind of do in real life, is they require little adjustments. And I've tried several of these different helicopters in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and for the freeware helicopters, this is one of the best. And it really is kind of dependent on how you want to set it up. So right now I have it actually set up into an easier mode, not so much an expert mode, and we're going to hit the ground if we're not careful there. And I'm kind of being careful here because I don't want to overstress it, but I do want to gain some altitude, and eventually we're going to have to turn around, and I want to kind of try and fly straight, because today we're going to Irremote Island in Japan, which is one of the next islands over from where I'm at. It's actually home of the Irremote cat. Maybe it's also pronounced Irremote, I don't know. It's an endangered cat in Japan. And it only exists on this island. You can't own one. You can't take them off the island. And they're actually, I think they're on the severe endangered species list. I think there's less than 200 left, as it was about 3 years ago. So anyhow, less talking, more flying. And you'll see that as I'm coming in here, and I'm kind of at an angle, I've discovered that with this Robinson helicopter, it doesn't really like to fly sideways in any way, shape, or form. It kind of, in my opinion, it seems it's kind of a limited helicopter in a way. Maybe it's not like this in real life. Maybe it is. Okay, so we're actually pointed in the right direction. And now we can slightly go forward. From some of the reading up that I've done on this helicopter, I understand that it's used to help train people to fly helicopters, so it's actually a great helicopter to use in this game. And again, I did mention that right now, as of the time I'm making this video, this is actually a free project. They're not charging for this. So it's one of the planes that you can actually download from some of the websites for free. You don't have to pay $50 or $40. And they do have disclaimers saying that, you know, that it's a work in progress, and really there's not a whole lot of it that's up and running, and to have patience. But for the most part, I think it's pretty good. Once you get used to it, once you kind of let it stop biting you. There are some other helicopters in the game that go a little faster and actually have a higher altitude or a higher ceiling than this one. So a general higher overall speed. This isn't bad. I'd say right about now we're going, it looks like somewhere around 60 knots. So for this helicopter, that's not bad. But you really can't take it above 100 knots, or it just pretty much will tell you that you're dead. So the island of air mode is actually one of the next ones over. We're not there right now. I forget the island that we're on. But so far in this game, sorry, it's not a game. Some people get really upset if you call it a game. It's a simulator. Well, so in the simulator, not all the airports and helipads have been quite built yet that exist in real life, and any developers out there that would like to build one on the air mode island or enable the one that's out there, well, that would be great. So you may be slightly limited to what your options are to take off and land. At times, at least to take off in a helicopter, you're not really limited much on your options of landing in this simulator. Again, with this model here, this Robinson helicopter, that comes with it does come with the option for floats. So they actually have set it up so that you can take off and land in the water. You can take off and land in the water. And there was a disclaimer in the manual for this, kind of saying that, you know, in real life you can't inflate the floats. The helicopter's either equipped with it or it's not. So, you know, you should take off with them already enabled and attached, or you shouldn't, for realism. But, you know, again, in this sim you can kind of do what you want. You can even change the settings to no crash failure, right now we actually have, I like to fly with all the real settings enabled. Right now we're actually doing live weather and live time in Japan. And I do have all the settings enabled, so if we were to crash, it would be like crashing in real life. We would, well, you won't die in the game, but the screen goes black, and that's pretty much it for you. So right now we're at about 850 feet, approaching 900 feet altitude-wise. Hopefully I don't miss the island here. I do tend to get a little turnaround. Again, especially when I'm flying this model of helicopter, because I'm always trying to be incredibly careful. So that should be the island directly in front of us. Aha. Okay.
Tower Derp pony plane 777 frequency change.
So we actually dropped there about 400 feet because I wasn't paying attention. So you probably wouldn't want to fly with me in a helicopter in real life. I mean, I don't have a pilot's license, but at the same time, someone who drops at 400 feet instantly because they're busy talking on the radio to air traffic control is probably not someone you want behind the stick of something like a helicopter. So it's going to take us a while to get there. Especially in this thing. So I guess we can kind of just enjoy the ride. I'm going to get a little bit more power and again watch that manifold pressure because I really don't want to overstress this thing. I would actually like to get to the island today. So, this is actually something that I want to talk about here with this, is that I do have the AIRLand FS profile they gave me for this. Right now I'm running the blue, which is the blue profile, which according to the people who make this helicopter is one of the more easy settings. If you wanted something more realistic, you could try the black profile. I've tried it, and well, I'm sure that any helicopter pilot, someone who actually has a private pilot license in real life could do it. I'm kind of far off from that. But I mean, if you have the skill and the knowledge, then this could be a fun thing for you to do when you're not actually flying. So the ocean's actually it's nice, and I have the texture set to high. I'm sure some people who have a much higher end video card than myself could probably put everything on ultra and be fine. I know there's plenty of websites you can go on that will help you figure out what your settings should be for the game. Sorry, for the simulator. But this works for me. I think the graphics are pretty highly detailed. I remember flying sims about 20 years ago when I was younger. And this is, you know, back before computers had as much power as they do today. And it really was limited. I mean, you wouldn't see anything like this. Very basic. Not quite like our 64-bit computers we have today. And they were still fun to fly. But I'd have to say that this is pretty close. It looks pretty real. Okay, so I'm going to lose some altitude here and probably sacrifice some altitude to get a little bit of speed, because we basically dropped our speed here just a little bit. It could also be that we're flying over the water, so things seem a little slower, but we are slowly gaining altitude. We're at about 1,400 feet. And the big island in the background is the AIRLand Island. Hopefully today we'll get there. So we've got about 18 minutes so far into this stream, or actually into this video. And I'd say it's probably going to still take us about 10 minutes to get there. Because we're traveling at about 50 knots. I really don't want to use the mouse to zoom in, because that means I have to take my hand off the stick. And if I take my hand off the stick, well, the game's gonna come to an end, or our little flight is definitely gonna come to an end in this simulator. So we're gonna continue to fly west into the setting sun. And slowly but surely, we will get there. I mean, if we wanted to get there a little faster, we could always fly something like even a Cessna. Like a Cessna 152 would be faster than this, but most civilian helicopters are really not known for their speed. Let's ease up a little bit. It looks like we're almost kind of flying sideways a little bit of a nose down. Looks like our manifold pressure is low and kind of manageable. We're starting to drift a little bit to the right. Kind of adjust the pedals there to the left. Straighten it out a little bit. I'm losing some altitude. We are traveling a little faster. We're actually closer to 90 knots now. So I probably should be keeping my eye on that as well. Helicopters seem to be kind of this balancing act of, I guess, power and control. So hopefully we're able to land this with about as much ease as we had to take off. Airmode Island is still farther ahead. It's that big one in front of us, not the one we're passing over right here. Actually, you can look right there and there's a helipad. Yeah, right down there. Unfortunately, it's not marked in the game, or in the simulator, so we can't take off from it. And you can't really find it unless you know it's there. So here we are, we're getting closer. And I've slowly been dropping altitude. Slowly descending. Kind of give you a better picture of the scenery around us. So ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Here on Malta Island. Looking kinda rural.
Follow the generic on final. 1274 at 7. Clear to land runway 04.
Sounds like we still have air traffic control going in the background there.
Clear to land runway 04 airpeak 235.
Okay. So get over this small little hill-like mountain. And if I remember correctly, the little emergency helipad that I'm looking for that we can land on is over here, and then technically we just need a nice flat piece of ground to land on. We don't have to land on the helipad, but I'm going to give it a shot. Well, Again, little adjustments. These little wobbles, believe it or not, are just enough to end our flight. So I kind of want to come in low because I know where I am and I know that I'm close. We don't want to descend too fast. At the same time, we don't want to descend too low. I believe we're close. I could be wrong. This is only my second or third pass around this place. I might be wrong. This might not be the place that has the helipad that we're looking for. So we'll keep going a little bit more. I think it's actually a little bit further down here. And again, technically in these one of these helicopters, you can land even in like that little patch down there if you're skilled enough. So we're at about 500 feet. And I've slowly been descending, kind of over the treetops, but not quite really over the mountains. And one of the things I've actually discovered about this little helicopter is it doesn't really have a rapid rate of climb, so it doesn't do well with hills and mountains. So, I believe the helipad is right over there. Well, we don't want to push it too much. Rotor RPM's picking up a little bit. And I know I'm flying crooked and a little sideways because I'm getting closer to where I want to land. And I believe that's it right there, is that little square. Yeah, that looks about right to me. 900 feet, so we have to come down quite a bit. Oh, but not like that. A little slower. We might actually have to pass around this. So there it is. We're gonna try for it. So we're gonna have to come around and hopefully not hit any trees. Watch our descent. We're at about 500 feet now. And again, like I said, I want to be really careful with this helicopter. It's kind of unforgiving. And I'm kind of an amateur here, so I'm going to give myself plenty of room to do this. Give it a little bit of power while I rotate carefully. And not overcorrect, and not float too far backwards. Maybe, huh? Well, going backwards again. And this again is where you have to really be careful in this thing. Too much power, too much speed, and it'll turn on you. Not enough power and you'll kind of miss where you're going. Okay. Let's try. There she is. A little more power, kind of slow her down. Up. Let's try. Almost. We're almost there. Oh, things are not looking good. And yeah. So I don't think we would have done too well in real life. And we're off from that quite a bit. So it's still up there. And I'll give it a shot. See if I can't just get up to it. My history with this helicopter is, so far, you know, like I said, it hasn't been too great. I'm still getting used to it. But again, it's little precise corrections and movements, because you can see you're going backwards there. You actually want to come forward a little bit. If you're not careful, you'll hit the ground, or you'll just go too far forward or sideways. I really don't need the air traffic controller in my ear, but I'll just have to drown the artificial air traffic controller out while we focus on this little square in front of us and how we get there. Oh, almost there. A little more power. A little more power. A little more forward. See, we're almost there. And there we go. Still too heavy on the landing, but we're pretty much dead center.
Clear to land runway 04 LH 235.
So this is definitely not one of my prettier landings, or one of my prettier flights in this Robinson R-44 helicopter, but not bad. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. In a remote island, get out and don't take the cats home with you.
Air Peach 235, turn next taxiway. Air Peach 235, follow to generic on final. Wind 274 at 7. Clear to land runway 04.
Clear to land runway 04 LH 235.
Well, thanks for flying with me, everybody, and if you're a flight simmer or you're thinking about checking out some of the helicopters in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, this is, little Robinson R-44 is actually a fun little thing to fly.